Well, we're ready to go tonight. We've had a bit of a warm-up and now we are absolutely on fire. It looks like you've got yourself a good old-fashioned Australian Shiraz. Is that right there, Tony?
I do have a Shiraz there, Tony.
Well, I've got a Japanese udon cha.
Udon cha, cheers.
Which is actually a popular drink. Udon cha, mugi cha, there's a few different cha. Cha is tea, by the way.
Okay. Looks like whiskey.
It does look like whiskey. I probably should have just said, it's a good night for the whiskey. Yeah.
Suntory time.
Suntory.
Sponsored by, this episode brought to you by?
Suntory, yeah. It's always brought to you by Suntory.
An Australian.
Mate, we've got a big night tonight.
We do.
And it's good to have you because we had you last week and we went for about 4 hours last week. So this week we're going to try to make it we're going to refine our skills and refine our answering. And I'm going to go bang straight into it. Yep. Let's start off with just an old favourite, 3 biggest influences in Tony Jukes' life. Who are the ones that who have influenced you, mate?
I mean, straight away I think of family. So my dad and my mum and my brother. But outside, I mean, that's a very logical thing and pretty common. Outside,
well, it's not actually, because I wouldn't have thought my family. I would have thought I just never think of your family, but they are, aren't they? And they're the most important people in your life. But yeah, family, definitely. Yeah. Going outside of the family, so let's say you break away from the family, you went out and you got information from other places. Where do you go? Where did you get your information? Who influenced you? Outside of that, mum, dad, brother.
I can't think of his name, but I remember at USQ, University of Southern Queensland, Toowoomba, where I did my degree, there was a data analysis lecturer, and data analysis had the highest failure rate in the whole university. And one of the reasons was everybody had to do it, including visual arts students. It was just a compulsory unit that everybody had to do. He was an amazing teacher in that there was no fluff. You just listened to everything he said, and then you implement everything he said in every lecture. I ended up getting the credit for it. I didn't get an A, I didn't get a distinction. I think I got a distinction. I got a B. I got a 6.
Data analysis.
Out of 7 for a data analysis.
Yeah. What kind of is it? What kind of analysis? What sort of data? Is it
statistical analysis?
Essays and statistical analysis?
It's all stats. And for some reason, everybody had to do it. I guess it held me in good stead, personally, for my career. But I think also other people, I mean, it helps people to understand the quantitative type side of everything. I think that would help even an artist because, I get, maybe artists will come and talk to me and go, look, I want to sell my book. I want to sell my paintings. How do I do that? A lot of the first things we do is, who are your customers? Let's analyze the data. So I can see where they're coming from there, the university, but it had the highest failure rate because it was a mathematics course.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah. Quantitative data. Let's analyze this. How many people have gone through this? Jesus. I wonder what the statistic is what was the actual statistic? Did they have a number for how many people actually took the course and who got through? I wonder if there was an actual number.
No, I don't.
You can find that
because they weren't that big on numbers. They weren't that big on
back then. They were
data analysis.
And I reckon if they turned that back on him, if they turned that back on the teacher and said to him, look, you're going to have to pass 95% of people. We've got a bell curve here, buddy. And let me tell you, if 20% of people are failing, we're going to replace you in that position, in that job. We're going to replace you. So either you explain data analysis to the point that the layman can understand it, or get out and we'll find someone else and we'll just replace that whole subject in the curriculum,
I think that I don't think it was that drastic. I mean, this was Australia. I can feel some energy there, Walshy. That's something we could explore in another episode.
Yeah.
But I dare
data analysis is interesting.
Probably thought, geez, I've got to get some passes here. How do I do it? I wonder whether that's a good point. Was it a chicken and egg thing? But what I loved about it is I just knew if I went in there and he just said, this is how you do this, whether it's probability, whether it's whatever, this is just how you do it. It was so easy because I don't know about you, but when I was going through high school and university, it was like, what are they going to test us on? There was no, we're going to test you on this. Just listen to everything. So, when it come to exam time, I was like, okay, I mean, we've done, that was another thing I learned from that course was when in doubt, it was multiple choice. And we went through the last, it really got us analysing data. We went through the last 3 to 5 exams because they published the exams from the years before, and we analysed B's and C's generally come up more than the others. There's not an even distribution over A, B, C, and we found that I think it was B's. There was slightly more B's than C's were correct answers. Because I
wish I'd known that because I always do C if I have no clue. I always bang C.
It was B or C. They were very, very close. There was less A's and B's, but that was interesting. Like that, we kind of got inspired. Okay, how do we do it? Because he said that. He goes, look, if you don't know, just guess, just pick one and just pick the same one because you're going to get around about 25% right. And then so we took that next level and went, okay, let's have a look at what he's done before or what's been in that course. So I wish I could remember his name because he doesn't get any credit.
He doesn't get credit, but if he's failing everyone or failing half the people, he doesn't need credit, that guy. He's got another agenda. He doesn't need to make friends. People who fail people don't want friends. They want something else. There's something else in their life. You can analyse them till the cows come home. They've got something else happening there. Mate, I'm going to move on.
There's 2 more influences. Mate,
you're right. There were 2. I was just going to bang out there and go through. Yeah. So this guy, unknown guy.
Yeah, so he was a data analysis lecturer at USQ at the round of the century.
Okay. Well, we could find that out pretty easily and just put it in the comments later or something like that. That's not hard. USQ.
University of Southern Queensland, Toowoomba, Queensland, Australia.
Yeah, that's a good one, mate. So you've got this guy, this second influence.
Probably Philip Ward, Mr. Ward from my high school. It's funny, now you've asked me this question, it's like, who are they? And I'm thinking,
Phil Ward.
No, Philip Ward. He was like not a housemaster, but he was our group sort of teacher where you went. You remember those old school copiers where you could smell it and it was methylated spirits?
Jeez, it's taking me back.
Remember those ones?
Yeah.
I remember there was one day, maybe it was because of that, but I'm not sure, but it was Johnny Farnham's The Age of Reason. Actually, no, he changed his name to John Farnham at that stage. I stand corrected. Sorry, Farnham. Okay. Barnsey and Barnsey. And then
he doesn't like Johnny.
He was not Johnny anymore. He moved. He was John. He was John. At the time, he was John, I'm pretty sure. So it was The Age of Reason. And he goes, let's go through it. And it was like kind of poetry, but I went, it was kind of cool because, here he is trying to reach out to teenagers, And it's like, okay, well, I'll take a pop song, which is relatively new, and let's go through what he's talking about there. So I remember that going, oh yeah. And then he wrote me a reference afterwards and he taught me economics and stuff like that. He was a good bloke, Mr. Ward, Philip Ward at South.
We had the chance to turn the pages over. Yeah, that's right. To write what we want to write. We got to make things before we get much older.
The Age of Reason.
Yeah. We're all someone's daughter or something like that. We're all someone's son. How long can we live with each other?
Is it the same song? I think you've
down the barrel of the gun. You're the voice, cry and understand it. That's You're the Voice.
You're the voice, Walshy.
The Age of Reason. You'll have to get back to me on The Age of Reason. The John Farnham, not Johnny, he's a Australian rock legend. And he was actually in the Little River Band for a spell there.
Little River Band? I did not know that.
He was the lead singer of the Little River Band when Glenn Shorrock was he took a spell and he came in and replaced them. Little River is near a place in Geelong, by the way, which you're a Geelong supporter. You've probably gone past Little River on the odd occasion. And they're a worldwide, they had the big hit Dreaming? Reminiscing. Was their big song.
I'm going to write this. I'll write this down. Here we go. What was it?
Reminiscing. It was what was it? Dancing in the dark, walking through the park and reminiscing.
I remember that song.
I can hardly wait. I said we were on a date or something like that. I said to myself, when we're old. So there's anyway, I wasn't planning on singing songs tonight, and I wasn't planning on bringing up the Little River Band, but I'm glad I did, because somehow Philip Ward brought up. Yeah, Philip Ward was your number 2 guy, and he's a high school teacher.
He taught me economics in grade 10. I think he taught me small business, it might have been business computing, I think, in grade 11 and 12. And he was like the homeroom teacher, I guess is the word.
What kind of computer did you use?
We were on MS-DOS.
Okay.
Microsoft DOS, which was originally PC DOS, which Bill Gates made a masterstroke and bought it and turned it into MS-DOS. I think we were using at that stage. That was pre-Windows. Actually, I remember helping my dad. Sorry, a little bit of a tangent. He's one of my influences, so we're still inside the
we're still in the influences, and Dad can come up anytime. Yeah.
Actually, Dad at the same time he sold the business. He started going to UQ, University of Queensland, to do a philosophy and anthropology degree, and he was doing some sort of desktop publishing or something. I think it was Illustrator, Adobe, I guess. I think it was Illustrator or something like that. And we bought it, and it was hundreds of dollars. And he goes, help me install it. And we're living in St. Lucia, just down the road in Brisbane at UQ. We put it in there, install it, and I'm doing it. And then it goes, this program needs Windows, something called Windows. I'm like, what's Windows? That was my entry. That was my exposure to the phenomena, which is now Windows. And so we had to go
Windows.
Yeah. And that stage, his hard disk was 40 megabytes. 40 megabytes. Yeah. We probably did about 40 megabytes of content in the first couple of minutes of this podcast.
Yeah, right.
That was, and like I remember thinking, whoa, he's got 40 megabytes. Whoa, I could stick all these games on it and all these, holy shnikes. So that was, actually, that's probably showing our ages. Woo.
I remember Windows 95. That was my first computer. It was a Windows 95. Before that,
good time.
I got spent $800 on a computer.
Windows 95 was the beginning of the internet as we know it. Before that, you had geeks. That was the beginning of people actually using the internet. Normal people, not the.
Is that right?
Yeah, 95 changed everything.
Yeah, and so Windows 95, and the guy who I bought the computer from, he told me, this is a good computer because you can build on it. And I was like, what? You can build on it? He said, so yeah, when you can upgrade. And so I was like, upgrade? What do you have to upgrade? So at that stage, we were like, like our whole mentality, like you buy a car and that was your car.
Yes.
Like you're buying a house, that was your house. We don't think it like, computers, we weren't thinking this is a 2 to 3 year deal. You're upgrading in 2 or 3 years. That mentality was gone. If you had have said computers, you're going to need to upgrade every 3 years, people possibly wouldn't have bought a computer.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Maybe. I'll just show you something here. Moore's Law. I don't know if you heard of Moore's Law. Basically, when it comes to computing power, I think, unless I'm mistaken, increases by 100-fold every 10 years.
So in 20 years, that could be more, like that could be, in
200-fold.
That could be 1,000-fold. You don't know. You know what I mean? Like you don't know.
Is it 100 by 100? Anyway, for anybody who's listening.
That would be an interesting.
if the data analysis lecturer from USQ at the turn of the century is listening, could you please help us out with the maths on Moore's law for 20 years from now? Because the two Tonys.
We're trying to work that one. And the other thing is, so it sounds like you're a systematic. You took the guy's class and you could relate to that and pass it, where you weren't so acting on emotions, where a lot of the people who possibly took the data analysis course were like, wow, he's a hard guy. I don't like this. This is going to be hard. Did you hear he fails a whole heap of people? What do I have to take this for? Can I drop it? You know, all these things where you were looking practical. Okay, what's he saying? What do I have to do? How do I get a pass? And you actually worked your way through that. So as far as an influence goes, yeah, he put an obstacle in front of you and you were able to get over that obstacle by following his steps.
Actually, yeah, I didn't feel that. Thanks for bringing it up. What was such an influence is, one, it helped me in my life, especially as a business person and a marketer. I remember after that, data became and maths became such a huge part of marketing degrees. Well, when I went through, it wasn't so much. It was more the psychology of it and that kind of thing. But because it helped me as you know, we were teachers when we met, Anthony Walshy, and and so it helped me as a teacher. As in, don't teach them stuff they don't need. Just give them what they need. You know, a little bit like Hemingway, the way Hemingway writes, which is just cut it to the bone, give them exactly what they need. And I think, it influenced me as it helped me, because I went, hang on a minute, I'm pretty good at this math stuff. Or I'm pretty good at this stat stuff. And I was kind of into it too. Like I must say, I mean, I think I've got mathematical aptitude, which helped me get that mark. But I remember it was refreshing, and it was the way he was concise and just didn't waste our time. And that's how maybe that related to me, and that's how it's influenced me.
Was he Australian?
It was very Australian. He had a black beard. Jeez, we've got to track this guy down. What was his name?
Well, find him, yeah. Anyway, so he was sounds like an interesting guy. And he doesn't sound like a regular Aussie guy that you're going to meet. You know, like not many Aussies. I haven't met too many Aussie guys who are really big into data analysis. I haven't met any data analysis Aussie guys, statistic-wise. Every time I go to conferences, I meet, you know, like really good statistical data, like from other Asian countries, people that'll give you data, they'll give you results. Yeah. You know, most of the Aussie guys are there giving you the methods of how to do things. Not giving you what are the results. They won't give you the black and white. Here's the bottom line. Here's the results. Most of the Aussie guys seem to be really good at doing the methods, being more qualitative, can we say, rather than quantitative. You know? Yeah. So it's that's just what I found. And your third influence, going on to the third. So Philip Ward, number 2.
Philip Ward.
Philip Ward. That's number 2.
I'll just share this quickly. Sorry, this is what they live with growth of supercomputers. Can you see this? The exponential growth. How it's just gone Shazam. Can you read that? Sorry,
that's from 2009 to 2011. It's gone
2006 to 2011.
Okay. Yeah.
And you can see how it's just. So we've got Tesla here. First GPU, Tesla GPU, exponential growth in GPU, supercomputers. Okay, so this kind of
supercomputers. What's the deal with supercomputers? Are they like regular ones, or are they super?
They wear tights underneath, mate. That's the one. Crikey. Put me on the spot there. So my third influencer would be, I think right now, Jordan Peterson. I think Jordan Peterson, who I've been banging on about this bloke for a while.
You've been doing a lot of Peterson. Now, the thing is, the unusual thing about Peterson is that it might be because of his psychology background, but when he gives an opinion,
Yep.
he tries to make it into a practical opinion.
Yep.
For example, he spoke about art, and he said how artists go into working class environments and they see the beauty within there, and they change the environment so that other people can come in and appreciate what they can see.
Okay.
And it's like, oh, okay, so he's actually practical. You know, that's something I can grab. Do you know what I mean? So he's got something to share.
Yep.
You know, he's an interesting guy. So that's something I like about Jordan Peterson, and he's from the University of Toronto. Which the interesting thing about Toronto is Canadians are often the middle. They like to take a middle stance. You know, like a lot of academics like to, you know, like, let's see what the extreme one way or extreme the other way is. Well, often Canadians like to say, well, what's in the middle? And he is he's sort of like, he actually has his own opinion. He doesn't just sit in the middle and be a fence sitter. I think I don't want to say all Canadians are fence sitters, but they don't like to be as direct as perhaps their neighbours.
Maybe that's the other thing too. Yeah, Jordan is outside the mean, outside the normal. It's interesting. His last 3 tweets: very large numbers of sheep can be herded by very small numbers of dogs. He sounds and looks a little bit, dare I say, totalitarian. You think sometimes it was interesting when he blew up in popularity. So a little bit of a background. He's basically come from nowhere to now he's everywhere. When he went up against some transgender laws that were introduced, and he was like, "This is none of this," and he's a big he's a big critic of postmodernism and Marxism inside the university ecosphere. So it's interesting. These other guys. Have you heard of this guy, Gad Saad? I never heard of this guy.
Okay, I'll have to check him out. Yeah.
Sam Harris, Peterson and Sam Harris had a couple of podcasts where they found it difficult to find some common ground on truth and Darwinian versus Newtonian truth and this kind of thing. Sam Harris is, of course, probably the most famous atheist going around, scientific, but a good guy. He seems like quite a good guy to analyse these kind of things. I don't know who Lawrence Southern is. Ben Shapiro is a guy I've just come across, and Carl Jung, of course. I know Peterson is a bit of a fan of Jung and Nietzsche and some others. So lately I've been listening to some criticism of Peterson. So that's been interesting, looking at the other side, because I've become, I've been starting to drink the Kool-Aid, so to speak. So I want to be really careful there and make sure that I'm seeing both sides, and so I'm really, really open to his criticism. So I'd say there's my 3 biggest influences. I don't know why. Other than that, I don't know why I got into Stephen Barrett. I don't know if you've met Stephen Barrett, but he's a mate of mine in Melbourne.
Yeah, right.
He influenced me. Don't know why I got into American football.
Do you know, if you do have a role model, a mentor, a role model mentor, somebody you look up to, and if somebody looks at them negatively and maybe critically, it's interesting how you deal with that. Like, how do you defend them, or do you listen to the other person, what they have to say, and then say and try to defend them like, hey, I believe in what they're saying? Or do you listen to the other side and try to say, oh, okay, well, are you open to suggestion that other ways of thinking are right, or do you like to support your guy? And if you've got something that if he's got a stance, you like to follow that, or are you somebody who's just always open to the opposite side of thinking?
Always. No, yeah. I can't say always, but I do now. I mean, I think it was our friend Byron Coonerty who taught me about the premise of our court system, which is there's everybody has their version of the truth, and in the middle, their version is like a triangle. So you've got one person's thinking over here, other person's opinion over here, and in the middle is truth. And so that's where the judge is in a court. There's judges at the top, and the two opposing sides. And basically, I went, hang on. So that the premise is that they're both lying, but maybe it's not that. It's just what they remember and their point of view. It's a subjective version of the truth without being lying. So that's something that's a concept that I've developed over the last sort of 11 years, I guess, 10, 11 years. So I guess I fancy myself as I could probably be a judge. So, and it's something that, what's that? Who was it? Was it Aristotle that said the first point of wisdom is knowing that you know nothing? Another thing I've just got here. Just hang on.
I think that was Socrates. Yeah, and that was Socrates who said that one.
Aristotle.
Was it Aristotle? Was it?
Aristotle. It's a fridge man.
Okay. It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. Yep, and that's Aristotle. That one. I think the first one was Socrates. But that's
Socrates. Did Socrates teach Aristotle, or Aristotle taught? Weren't they like protege and mentor?
Yeah. So Socrates was the first guy, and he taught
Aristotle, and Aristotle taught Plato.
The other way around, Plato, and then I thought it was Aristotle. He was the final one, wasn't he? Wasn't he the? Wasn't he the? God, this is taking me back to history. And I thought,
didn't they?
Plato was Aristotle's first, and he was the rich kid, and he was the one who got all the information, and then Aristotle, didn't he go into the math side more?
Weren't they like big fans of boys? Oh, that's beside the point. Anyway.
Well, Socrates did have a wife, and she was she did his head in from all accounts, didn't she? She was a Socrates' wife.
Here we go. Oh, they were very contemporary. So here we go. 99. Yeah, Socrates first. Yeah, Plato. So Aristotle was Plato's student.
Briefly. But Socrates was Plato. They were closer, I believe. And Socrates wasn't a rich man, but Plato was from a wealthy background, from what I understand. So that's a bit of history for us, Greek philosophy, and they've given us a lot.
They have, haven't they?
They have given us a lot.
I'm going to get into Aristotle, because a little bit like Freud and Jung. I mean, Freud is, everything was about sex, and everything's about sex, and everything's about sex, and he was groundbreaking. But Jung has taken it to, Jung's quite terrifying with, again, Peterson's been helping out with that. Yeah, I might get into Aristotle.
Do you know, there's a Plato, there's just one from Plato that I like is, do you know The Dark Room? The shadows, that story?
No.
So he looked at philosophy as being, let's say you were hung up like a prisoner, you were hung up on the wall, and there was barely any light. You could only see like the shadow of other people on the wall.
Oh, I've seen it.
You could only see the shadow of other people on the wall, and you were there hanging up with each other for 10 years. And so for 10 years, you looked at each other and you saw each other, and you could only see like the shadow of a face. Now, after 10 years, you'd think that's what they looked like. You think you'd know everything about them because that's what you've been looking at for 10 years. And then if you were taken off the wall and walked outside and looked at it in the light of day, you'd see, wait a second, they've got different details. There's something more to this. They look different. And so that's his impression of philosophy, is you've got to look at it from different angles, and you've got to look at it in different light. And that's the same experience as what philosophy is. You got
Is it Plato?
to look at it in different. That's Plato, yeah.
Oh, hang on, I found it. Okay, sorry, mate. Keep going. So,
So anyway, that's one thing. Now, I would say, for me personally, I'm not a massive historian, but I do enjoy a little bit of history, and I'd like to learn more about European history. I've touched Greece a few times. There you go, Plato's Cave. That's what it is. Yeah, and perhaps my story was slightly jaded, but that's that's the gist of it, right?
Why are they bound there? Why are they bound? Why is there this you can't move stuff?
Well, that's because you're looking at something in a certain way. So the cave. It's suggesting that. Yeah. So that's the way I look at it, and I look at it like you see something and you're there for a long time. I thought it was 10 years. The saying. And you're looking at other people, other prisoners the same, or other people who are in that room, in that environment, would you may, and they look at things. So Plato's Cave. So that was that's one there. So, buddy, you've got three really interesting influences.
Thanks, mate.
Now, one was from uni, one was from high school, and one is from where did you discover Pedersen? Where did you come across? Like, who introduced you to him? Who was the person who said, "Hey"? Who said, "Hey, Toad, what are you doing? Because you got to listen to this guy." Who asked you to do that? Can you think, or did you just come across it by yourself?
I can't remember because it wasn't Ryan. So Ryan usually, our mate Ryan Morse, he often introduced me to stuff like that. It wasn't him. I talk. He goes, "Yeah, I know him. He's been around. He's American." Ryan. Pedersen. Where the fuck? Maybe it was the Joe Rogan Experience. The Joe Rogan podcast. I might have stumbled across him there. That's freakish because I cannot remember the genesis. I'm a bit of a YouTube whore. I do get into this sort of stuff, and it might have come up on the feed. But other than that, probably Joe Rogan Experience.
Now, something interesting is I came and stayed with you for a couple of days. I came and stayed for a couple of days with you in August and September, and every morning we'd wake up. Your fantastic wife would make she'd make coffee. Not such a big breakfast eaters, you guys. Which is unusual because I'm a breakfast guy. Yeah. So do you want to tell us a bit about your if you've got a schedule, what happens in the morning, what happens in the afternoon, what happens in the evening? What's your schedule like?
Very fluid. I'm a big fan of biorhythms, or I've found that I have that biorhythms are there present for me. It's interesting. Just the other day, I got up. It was about 6:30, I guess. You'd actually taught me this, or you'd said this is what you do. This is a while ago. I don't think you still do it, which is when you wake up, just stick the earphones in and listen to a podcast or something. Listen to something. So, and because the mind starts going. And I know I've had the same thing too. And instead of thinking about, usually it's the concerns of the day or the concerns of what's happening there and all this thing that, that starts again. You notice that? So I remember you saying something to that effect. So usually I'll just listen to something. Often the first thing and last thing I do is listen to a podcast or a YouTube video or something like that. Often helps me go to sleep sometimes. I don't always need it.
I do as well.
Yeah, right.
I do as well. I do guided meditations, and they are absolutely magnificent, mate. Yeah. Guided meditations work. Also, I did a few breathing exercises with your wife, and she did something interesting. She was like doing that. I had not breathed, like my left nostril. No air, I don't think, had gone in and out of that nostril for a long time because I always use the other nostril. So doing that, really, invigorated me. I loved that. By the way, your wife has her own page. Is that right? Should we give her a quick plug?
Oh, a quick plug for Yuka. Yes, she does.
I did join. She does a bit of yoga, and she's quite good. She explained a few yoga exercises, which I have been doing every day. Let her know that my shoulders are feeling great, and my actual balance. This is a big thing that I wasn't thinking about, but I'm really well balanced now. I can do these, thigh stretches, these yoga stretches with my arms out. And I never used to do that. And it really does a job on my posture. And it is absolutely amazing. Just my balance now has come into shape. And I'm starting to think about my ears and shoulders being in line. So, yeah, as far as routines go, I think you've got the right idea. You've got to unwind this. 2, you've got to get the body. Something's got to be doing with the body. You've got to get it activated in the morning, and you've got to shut it down at night, don't you?
So look, you got the Facebook page.
So this is Yoga Vedic Life.
Instagram. Instagram's really, really good. Actually, probably both the stuff is really, really good.
Radiate positivity. Now, seriously, I would love to be able to radiate positivity.
Mate, it's just
I would love to. Do you know, I was going through my Facebook page today, and I was talking about Tantra, and part of me thought, geez, you know what, this is comical. This is like borderline comical. And another side of me thought, wait a second, I could get into that as well. Anyway, let's have a look at this. Yoga Vedic.
Hang on. Life.
I won't go too much into the tantric stuff, but the yoga Vedic life. I'll have to look up what Vedic's all about. I'm not sure. I don't know that term.
It was a review 2 months ago after a series of wrong choices of food and a sedentary car-dependent stress. Tommy's really got into this.
Hitomi Kano Oshita. And now I just want to make a point now. This is she's got 3 names, which is very unusual for Japanese people to do 3 names. Hitomi Kano Oshita. So hyphenated names. I've never seen a Japanese person with a hyphenated name unless they're married to a foreigner.
There's no hyphen there, man.
Well, like hyphenated. Like, so it's Hitomi Kano, which is Japanese, Oshita. So she's got like 2 surnames, right?
Okay.
So
you think
that's very unusual.
That's like maybe her mum's name and her dad's name, which in our case would be a hyphen. Is that where you come from? I don't know where she's coming from. Either she's got she might have a spiritual name. What's a spiritual name?
I don't know. Like, she might have a name, like, she might have thrown one in there. Like, Hitomi is definitely her birth given name. Like, nobody says, hey, do you know what? I'm going to call myself Hitomi because that's just like, Sally or Lisa. You know what I mean? That's so in Japan, Hitomi is like just your regular Joe sort of thing. And but Kano with 2 N's, that's unusual. Anyway. So
it looks like she's a big fan. Her advice, especially about what I have to have and not have for breakfast, was so spot on that my eyes were wide open and jaw dropped many times. Wow,
well, I tell you, your hugs and kisses, she suggested to not have cold, because I was having smoothies for breakfast every day.
Yep.
And she recommended drop the smoothies. No, you don't want to put cold things into the stomach early in the morning. She said even yogurts and stuff like that after 11 o'clock. That was your wife's advice to me. And I've been thinking about that, and I've stopped putting ice blocks in my water and stuff like that in the morning.
Yeah.
So I just,
it's hard to have a smoothie that isn't cold, but yeah, I'm with you on that. I dropped the smoothie.
Yeah, I just totally dropped the smoothie. I was like, nah, smoothies in the morning, drop it. And I think it's worked because, you know, I was kind of like feeling like from when I was having the smoothies in the morning that I was putting on weight. I think I was putting on weight. And
I do
now...
with juices, but I didn't know about smoothies. Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like, you know, I haven't really changed my diet so much apart from changing that smoothie. And now I'm not putting on weight and I'm not feeling bloated in the face, but lessons have started back. And with the stress of all the students and all that stuff, I'm teaching. So I'm not really chilling out in my office doing my research, data analysis with your stuff, you know.
I'll put this up here. Hang on. This is a really good podcast at the ATP podcast.
ATP Project podcast. Okay, I've never heard of this.
It's an Australian
ATP.
one.
What is it? What's the?
So they talk a lot about health and well-being, and one of the things and really good sports science and science has been really, really helpful for me.
Really?
One of the things they said, which backs up the Ayurvedic philosophy, is have something hot before you eat, which stimulates, which drives blood flow to the stomach. So I think that's perhaps where she's coming from as well with don't have the smoothie. So you don't want to put something cold in there, which because they talk about if to absorb or to digest, it turns everything into a soup and heats it up. And that's the process with the acid that the digestion process of what happens in your gut. So, I mean,
what was that podcast one more time?
ATP Project, is it? Hang on. The ATP Project's podcast. I think it's designed for people. I mean, you got some elite stuff in there. It's designed for people who want to go to the gym, talk about supplements. What's up with SUPs, gut health, stimulants, cortisol, microwave, herbs, aluminium. So it doesn't go into the full tinfoil hat stuff, but frankenfood, wheat, you know, but it's lots of, I find it quite scientific, but it's been you and your blood, salts and electrolytes, brain versus gut. Really big on gut health. I know we're sort of getting a little bit off topic here, but gut health, I think, is going to be the revolution in mental health, with treatment for mental illness and mental well-being. We're going to take the gut really seriously and the gut flora. And we're seeing lots of bits and pieces, especially on shows like ABC's Catalyst and some mainstream science around this. So, yeah, it's quite exciting for that. So back to morning routine.
I'd like to, morning routine, yeah.
If the other day when we did this, so I felt really, really up and about. This is probably 3 days ago. And I just went, let's go. And I said, let's go for a walk. And she's like, yeah, you want to? And all right. So we went for a walk and it just gave us that so much more time today. That said, since then, we haven't done it again. That was 2 days ago. But that was really helpful. But yeah, biorhythms, the routine, the real routine, like you said, is have the coffee. We don't have coffee before 9 o'clock in the morning. And don't have coffee after 12, between 12 and 1:30 because of cortisol spikes. I think I read that in business.
In the afternoon?
Yeah, we get a cortisol
in the
spike
afternoon.
in the morning.
12 to 1:30. 12 to
1:30. So you get the natural cortisol spike in the morning to wake you up. So caffeine's not going to help because you're already up and about. There's no use. We're naturally woken up. So you may as well go something else. And then again around lunchtime. And then, so we have that natural sort of lull before lunchtime around about 11. So I have one at 9. Might have another coffee at 11 if I'm really, really, probably have a little bit too much caffeine. And then if I want another one, I'll have another one around 2 o'clock. And if I really want another one at 4 o'clock. But generally I don't have 4 coffees a day. But those are the good times to have. And then after that, no more. So nothing before 9 a.m. Don't have one with lunch. And then... around 2 o'clock, okay. And then if really need another one, 4 o'clock and then no more. So it's 9 to 5 with the breaks, with the big break for lunch.
That's a big call. That's going to really influence my coffee intake because I had 3 or 4 coffees today at least.
Yep.
At least, and that's because that's the drink I have. You know, it's like when you're a teacher, that's the drink you have. It's just okay. What am I going to drink? I bought tea in. I bought the udon cha in, and it's just like, what am I going to drink? I got to get the coffee, and but my cups are small. I don't know if that makes a difference. They're not big coffees. See, that's the volume of it. Is like I get plastic cups, not plastic, paper cups.
Yeah. So
I drink out of paper cups. I don't use I don't use a glass cup. And the reason why is because I don't want to wash my cup. That's the only reason. And if you don't wash and just keep putting coffee in all day and you wash it like once a week or something like ridiculous, you get cankers. Do you know what cankers are?
I think so. What are cankers?
Like sores in your mouth.
From the mug?
I don't know if they're from the mug, but when I was drinking coffee and using the same mug, and I'd like use it at least 5 times a day, and then the next morning I might wash it in the morning quickly, and sometimes I'd just quickly rinse it with water even and just hot water and tip it out like a lazy guy, right? You know, and I was finding I was getting cankers, but I haven't since I've been using paper cups, and I've got a little plastic thing to hold the paper in, and there's a disposable paper, and I use the 1 cup per day. And I just keep using the 1 paper cup a day.
It's truth. I get. Well, it's probably good to not have the cankers, mate. If that solved your canker problem.
Cankers are a nightmare. Seriously, if you've never had cankers, you've got no idea. So I had them for like 5 years, just constantly. One would come up here, one would come up here, and when you're eating, you got to use the other side of your mouth, and you'll bite, and then that will turn into a canker.
Yeah.
So it drives you crazy. Cankers, yeah.
Get rid of these cankers.
I think, I asked the doctor about them, and I said, what's the deal with the cankers? Because I'm getting them all the time. And he said to me, it's stress-related.
Yep.
So I think that also, like if you're fairly new in a job. Now, people say new and they think 6 months is new. It's not. 6 months is not new in a job. That's baby new. 5 years is new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you think you're new. Like you think you know what you're talking about after you've done a job for 5 years. Yeah. But it's once you look back, once you're about 7 years, I'm into 7 years in the job I'm in now, you look back and you think, nah, now, God, I'm looking at the way I was then. I've changed. Every year you change a little, right? And it's kind of like after the 5 year mark, you start thinking, oh, wait a second. Now you stop getting things like cankers because you're kind of like a little bit more relaxed. And the other thing is if you see somebody who's kind of like a personality type that would annoy you, when you've been somewhere for over 5 years, you look at them, you think, there's that personality type that I don't like, and it doesn't matter. And so you don't get things like cankers. But when you're new, you're like, there's that person I don't like. God, I don't like them. And so you're like that. And that's part of the agitation.
So when did you stop getting cankers in your current job?
Yeah, a year and a half ago. A year and a half to 2 years ago.
5 years in.
So 5 years. It took 5 years for me to...
Were you getting cankers in a job before that?
Nah.
So this is a recent phenomenon.
Started 3 weeks into the new job.
3 weeks in?
The first 3 weeks, I was like, oh. And then for 5 years, and I went to the doctor regularly, and I said, I'm getting cankers all the time. And I was getting colds all the time. Every semester I would get a cold or a flu. And I actually worked it out that the first week in November, I caught a cold every year for years.
Every November?
That was every November, first week in November. And I actually, as a teacher, what I did was I made sure that all the students had like movies to watch or something first week of November, or I threw something that was sort of like not teacher-centered activity so that I would be able to have downtime during that week. So in a 15-week semester, that week that lands first week in November, I'm sick every year and I'm done. So I've got to get through that week. That's the difficult week. That's like your hump. That's your hump. You know, you have Wednesday within the actual week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is your hump day. Well, within a semester, my hump week was that first week in November for second
hump
semester.
Week.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's International Hump Week. If it's an official thing.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, right? If you've got, see, you're a marketer, right? So your week is possibly not so. Week 8 is exam week. Week 15 is exam preparation.
Yeah, every project's different, and it's constantly,
So you're switched on, right? Cycle. Yeah. So you don't have such a cycle to probably do a routine on, or do you?
Start to wind down. I mean, I think I'm a typical business where December, you know, clients are taking it easy. And then even January, you know, you get some of the early starters, but they're not the majority, and people will really start looking for things to do before June, because in Australia we have that June end of financial year. They have to spend their budgets, that sort of thing. So there's a little bit of a spike there. That's what I found.
Is that a busy time for you, the end of financial year, or is it?
Yeah, I think for some businesses are like the big businesses. They're like, well, we've got this budget, but most of them are those ones, if they have that and that they're at that stage, they've already probably done their marketing spend.
Which brings in another question, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, like as far as I'm going to jump onto my fourth question. I was going to ask 3, but I think we touched on the shape. So I'm going to go on my fourth one that I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got $1 million, right? I don't know how you got it.
How about we give it, we just cut it here and we start a new one.
Okay.
On that, we reckon, because we're at about 51 minutes now, about 50 minutes.
Are we at 50? We're at 50 minutes right now.
50 minutes. Boom. So how about we just boom shakalaka?
We just boom shaka.
For part 2 on what's the question going to be?
Okay, we're going to talk about your $1 million. But I wanted to, what I wanted to do, because there was a movie about $1 million, and it was Robert Redford who propositioned Demi Moore, and Woody Harrelson was Demi Moore's wife. And he said, well, do you mind if I just take your wife for a night? I'll give you $1 million. Please. And all I can say is that, hey, Robert Redford, you're not the greatest of guys, but if he wanted to do some action with mine, because look, $1 million, that would work out kind of all right for me right now. I could do into the early retirement. Jealousy factor, do you know what? I don't know. Anyway, we'll talk about the $1 million. The $1 million question is coming up after in the next episode. How about that? What would you do with $1 million after Robert Redford? After the situation, whatever happens, you've got $1 million, right? What are you going to do with it? So we'll ask that in the next podcast. And don't worry, I don't think that's going to happen. But just if $1 million happened to come into your lap, we'll talk about that without any jealousy issues or any of the. You're not going to spend $1 million on psychotherapy to talk about how you got your $1 million. So we're not going to do that. We're going to talk about what you will invest and how you'll do, what you're going to spend it on, and we'll talk about those things. All right.
All right, mate.
Sweet, mate.
See you soon.
Cheers.